What's up, guys? So less than a week away to Beamer invasion, but I still have a couple of items on the car to-do list. I have a minor exhaust rattle that I have to fix. It should be pretty easy, just lowering the exhaust tips a little bit because I think they're just seated a little too high. But then today we're also doing we were going to do the rear differential fluid. Not able to do that because even though I've had this stuff for a while, at the last minute I realized I had the wrong fluid. I had the OEM stuff with the friction modifier, and as BMW says for F-Series, F-Gen, M cars and later, you're supposed to use the non-friction modifier fluid, so I made an emergency reorder from ECS Tuning to get the right fluid. Goes out Monday. Hopefully it'll be here in time. It could be here as early as Wednesday, in which case I'll have time to do that. But if not, it'll be the first thing I do when I get back. But today, we're definitely doing the manual transmission fluid change. Now, I've never done one of these before, but as I understand it, it is pretty easy. Quick run through of the order of operations. We have a panel underneath the transmission to remove. Then we'll undo the fill plug first to make sure that it's not seized, because if you drain all the oil and then you realize that your fill plug is seized, that's a problem. So we'll undo the fill plug first, then drain all the oil. Get that retightened and torqued back down, get the fluid into the transmission, which we actually have to use a fluid pump for, and all the parts and tools that I used I will link in the description below. So get the oil in, get the fill plug retightened and torqued back down, and then get the panel back on, and we're good to go. So, but before we usually do any kind of oil service, it's a good idea to get the car warmed up, get the oil warmed up. So I'm gonna go for a quick drive, then get it back, get it up on jack stands, and we will get started. So be right back.
All right, so while I was out, I happened to find myself near the building of my old work. So I thought I'd stop in real quick. Happen to have my board in the trunk. Though I'm still trying to unlearn pushing Mongo, and it sucks. It's like learning how to skate all over again. So uncomfortable. Not the best parking lot, it's kind of trash. Oh my God, pebbles suck. All right, done playing, on the way back. Man, that sucks. You know how like when it's that cold out, it's only like 46 degrees out or so, but you know how like it's like really windy and like your ears just hurt? Got that going on right now. That's not fun. That's not fun at all. So, okay, let's go back, get this oil changed. Fluid? Is it oil? It's an oil. Pretty sure it's an oil. But if they say transmission fluid, whatever.
All right, quick overview of everything that we're gonna use here. And as always, product links in the description below. So I ordered the manual transmission fluid kit from FCP Euro, and with that came these two 1 liter bottles of the Pentosan FFL3 fluid, as well as replacement fill and drain plugs. Now I've seen some people just reuse the stock ones, but they came with the kit, so I'm gonna go ahead and use them. A fluid pump to transfer the fluid out of the bottles and into the transmission. Then we have an 8 and 10 mil sockets. So there are 10 8 mil fasteners around the panel that we're gonna remove to get to the transmission, as well as one 10 millimeter bolt. Then we have the 8 millimeter hex for the fill and drain plugs. And then an extension is gonna be helpful because there are two 8 mil fasteners that are kind of tucked up alongside the mid pipes. Pretty difficult to get to, but again, having an extension will be helpful. And then of course, a torque wrench to make sure that we torque everything down properly. I'm gonna retorque these to 40 Newton meters each.
Making a kid do this while I have a beverage. It's easier that way. Screw you.
Well, now I'm not doing it.
For the last two bolts alongside the mid pipes, they're a little bit tricky, but what makes it easier is if you pull the panel in the opposite direction of the pipes, like towards the driver's side, it makes the two remaining bolts a little more accessible. So just makes it easier to get to them. All right, so now that the panel is off, here is the transmission. So this is our drain plug, this is our fill plug. So I'm gonna take the 8 millimeter hex, undo this just to make sure that we're good, and then drain the oil. Similar to the oil plug, you want to put upward tension as you're undoing it so that you can pull away quickly and reduce the amount of mess that you make. Ah, crap. Missed. Not a bad idea to have some shop towels around in case that happens. And you know what? Gloves would have been a smart move too, I'll admit. All right, so now that the oil is drained, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up and then reinstall and torque down the drain plug. Started by hand so we don't get any cross threading. Then I will tighten the rest of the way to 40 Newton meters. All right, so now let's loosen up the fill plug and get the oil in. All right, so I got this all set up, got this plastic piece in here to reach the bottom of the bottle. And so we're gonna go ahead and start pumping this into the transmission. It's gonna take about 1.6 liters. And when it starts dripping out of the transmission, then we know we're done. All right, so now I'm just gonna reinstall the new fill plug, get this torqued down to 40 Newton meters, put the pan back on, and we're done. All right guys, so quick heads up about torquing down the fill plug. So for my setup, I have a 1/2-inch torque wrench, but I only have the 1/4-inch 8mm socket, so I was using an adapter, 1/4-inch to 1/2-inch adapter, and that did not leave me enough room to get into the fill plug and for the transmission on the wall next to it. So I couldn't use a joint attachment or anything like that. So if you are using a similar torque wrench, you definitely want to use a 1/2-inch direct 8mm hex. And this will give you just enough clearance to be able to get into the fill plug to torque it down safely. So I will leave a link to this in the description below, along with everything else. All right, and the last step, I'm gonna start the car, roll the gears a little bit to circulate some of that oil. All right, guys. Well, dishes are done, man. So I think that, rating the difficulty of this, it really was actually pretty easy. I would put it on par with changing the oil. The only thing that sucked about this was the removal and more so the reinstallation of the panel. So the panel that covers the transmission, like I said, those two 8mm fasteners that are alongside the mid pipes that are sort of tucked up inside, those are very difficult to get to. And actually, as much as I thought it was a pain to remove it, it was much worse to reinstall it, in my opinion. So removing it, like I said before, I found that if you pull the panel away towards the driver's side, it makes accessing the top of those fasteners a little bit easier. But when it comes to reinstalling them, I found to be pretty tricky. So actually getting the one closer to the downpipes was not that bad. It was the one near the trans mount. That took a lot of time to get that actually fully reinstalled. So, but once that was done, everything else was easy to put back in. And like I said, the actual, doing the maintenance on the transmission, I found that to be super easy. So anyway, and also like I said before, with the note about the fitting up next to the transmission, if you have a torque wrench that is a 1/2-inch, but a socket that is a 1/4-inch. So using a converter there, you're not gonna have enough room. So definitely make sure that if you have a 1/2-inch drive socket wrench, that you use a 1/2-inch socket for the 8mm. And like I said, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. So anyway, hope you found this helpful, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.